I finished my sermon on covenant faithfulness to 2,800 people. My wife Rebecca was crying in the front row. Everyone thought it was the Holy Spirit. It wasn't. But I didn't know that yet. I stood at the pulpit of Riverside Community Church, gripping my study Bible, the one I've used for 12 years, brown leather so worn it's almost black where my hands grip it. The spine cracks when I open it, not breaking, just settling, like an old house remembering its foundations. The pages whisper when I turn them, tissue thin, gold edges worn white from my thumbs. 3 colors of ink in the margins, blue from when I was young and certain, black from my careful middle years, red from recently when I thought I finally understood marriage. I closed the service strong. My wife, Rebecca, and I celebrate 17 years next month. You want to know our secret? Covenant isn't a feeling, it's a choice. When you don't feel in love, you choose faithfulness anyway. That's how you affair-proof a marriage. The camera panned to Rebecca. She was dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Beautiful, radiant even. The live stream chat exploded with heart emojis. 15,000 people watching online, 2,800 in the sanctuary. All of them saw my perfect pastor's wife, moved by her husband's wisdom about marriage. I saw it too, and I believed it. I touched my wedding ring as I gave the benediction. Tungsten band, dark gray, matte finish. Heavier than gold, you feel it. When I'm nervous, I spin it on my finger. It goes around easy now. 17 years, it's gotten looser. Inside, there's an inscription you can only read when you take it off. Covenant Keeper, Malachi 2:16. The verse where God says he hates divorce. I picked that verse, I engraved it, I wore it for 17 years. That was a Sunday morning in June. By that evening, everything had changed. Rebecca was waiting for me when I got home. She had that look, the one that used to mean something wonderful. She was holding something, pink and white box. Cardboard crinkled at the corners. Daniel, she said, her voice was shaking, I have news. I set my study Bible on the kitchen counter. The leather made a soft sound against the granite. What kind of news? She held up the box. Clear blue advanced pregnancy test. My heart did something complicated. We're 43 and 38. We have Hannah, 17 years old, almost ready for college. We hadn't talked about more kids in years. You're pregnant? I said. 8 weeks. She was crying again, different tears than the ones at church. These looked real. It's a miracle, Daniel. We're going to have a baby. I pulled her into a hug because that's what you do. That's what a good husband does. But my mind was already doing math. 8 weeks. That puts conception at... When? I asked. I mean, when did we... Before your spring conference tour. She pulled back, smiled through tears. Remember? That night before you left for Atlanta. I did remember that night, March 12th. I left the next morning for a 3-week preaching circuit. Denominational conferences, marriage seminars, ironically. But 8 weeks ago wasn't March 12th. 8 weeks ago was mid-April. Rebecca, I said carefully, I was gone from March 12th through April 23rd, 6 weeks. Right, she said quickly. Before you left. It must have been right before you left. That would make you 12 weeks pregnant, not 8. The kitchen got very quiet. She laughed, but it sounded wrong, like glass breaking in slow motion. I must have my dates confused, she said. You know how pregnancy dating works. It's not always accurate. But I know how pregnancy dating works. I'm a pastor. I've sat through hundreds of baby dedications. The doctors don't just guess, they measure. They're accurate within days. And then I remembered something else, the Mountain High Worship Retreat. Our church sent 12 staff members to North Carolina for 4 days of worship and ministry training, April 14th through 18th, right in the middle of my tour. Rebecca went. She's our women's ministry director. Of course she went. And so did Caleb Hayes, our worship pastor. Divorced, 35, plays guitar like he's trying to save his own soul. Rebecca had been helping him process his healing journey for months. Fellowship, she called it. Christian community. I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. She was still smiling, but her hands were shaking. The mountain retreat, I said. You were there April 14th through 18th. Yes, and it was amazing. God really moved. That's 8 weeks ago, Rebecca. Her smile didn't fade, but something behind her eyes did. Like a light switching off in a house you thought was home. What are you saying, Daniel? I wasn't sure what I was saying. Not yet. My mind was spinning through sermons I'd preached, scripture I'd quoted, advice I'd given to struggling couples. I've taught thousands of people how to affair-proof their marriages. I literally have a sermon series about it. 85,000 views on YouTube, and I never saw this coming. Nothing, I said finally. I'm not saying anything. I'm just tired. It's been a long day. She kissed my cheek. Her vanilla perfume was sweet, cloying. Get some rest. We'll tell Hannah tomorrow. She's going to be so excited. After she went upstairs, I stood in the kitchen for 20 minutes. Just stood there. My study Bible was still on the counter. I opened it. All those annotations in 3 colors. All that wisdom I thought I had. I found the page where I'd written notes for my affair-proof marriage series. January through February. 6 weeks of teaching about protecting your covenant. While she was... What? Planning? Already involved? No, I was being paranoid, suspicious. Rebecca would never... My phone buzzed. Text from Jenny Park, our associate pastor. She handles worship and young adults. She was at the retreat too. Pastor Daniel, can we talk tomorrow? It's about the retreat. Something I should have told you sooner. I stared at that text for 5 minutes. Then I went out to Rebecca's car. Our garage is attached, neat, everything in its place. Her white Lexus gleamed under the fluorescent lights. I needed to return her water bottle from church. That's what I told myself. I opened the passenger door. Something blue slipped out from under the seat. Navy cotton, soft, worn. I picked it up. Mountain High Worship Retreat, 2025, arched across the front in white letters. A mountain, a cross, the logo I'd approved when they ordered the shirts. Medium, Rebecca's size, except this wasn't a medium, men's large. The collar was stretched. There was a faint coffee stain on the hem, and when I held it to my nose, I could smell her lavender detergent. Rebecca's signature scent for 17 years. She washes everything in that lavender detergent. But this wasn't her shirt. I stood there in the garage, holding another man's t-shirt that smelled like my wife, and something in my chest cracked open. Not broke, not yet, just cracked. Like that first line in Ice, when you step somewhere you shouldn't. 6 weeks after the retreat, why was his shirt still in her car? I went back inside. Rebecca was in the kitchen now making tea. Chamomile, she always drinks chamomile when she's anxious. Rebecca, I said. I held up the shirt. Whose is this? She turned, saw the navy cotton in my hands, and for just a moment, maybe half a second, her face did something I'd never seen before, pure panic. Then it smoothed over. Pastoral wife mask back in place. Oh, that, she laughed. That's from the retreat. We were doing a clothing drive. People were donating old shirts. That must have fallen out of the donation bag. This doesn't look donated. It's clean, washed. It smells like your detergent. Well, I washed the donations before we... Rebecca. I set the shirt on the counter between us. Men's large, stretched collar. 6 weeks after the retreat. Why is this still in your car? The chamomile kettle started screaming. She didn't move to turn it off. Just stood there, staring at me. The kettle screamed, and finally I walked over and turned off the burner. It's Caleb's, she said quietly. The kitchen got so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming. What? It's Caleb's shirt. Daniel, I need to tell you something. My hands gripped the counter edge. Granite, cool and hard, real. We got close at the retreat. Too close. It was wrong. I know it was wrong, but we were both struggling and you were gone and we just talked all night, some nights, just talked. Christian fellowship, processing pain. His divorce left him so wounded, Daniel, I was helping him heal. His shirt is in your car. He left it in my car one night after we talked in the parking lot. It got late. He was cold. I gave him my jacket. He left his shirt. It's nothing. It's just a shirt. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. 17 years, Hannah, the church, our life together, everything we'd built, but the shirt smelled like her detergent, and she'd washed it and kept it for 6 weeks. Rebecca, I said slowly, are you having an affair? No. She said it fast, too fast. No, Daniel, I made a mistake. We got too close emotionally, but nothing physical happened. I swear on Hannah's life. Nothing physical. You're 8 weeks pregnant. Yes. And 8 weeks ago, you were at a mountain retreat with Caleb Hayes. All night, some nights, just talking. Yes. And you expect me to believe this baby is mine. She started crying. Real tears this time. Mascara running, shoulders shaking, the whole thing. She came to me, grabbed my hands. The tungsten ring felt cold between us. Daniel, please believe me. I made a mistake, an emotional affair. I'll cut off all contact with Caleb. I'll resign from women's ministry if you want. I'll do anything. But this baby is ours. It has to be. Like, we were together that night before you left. Remember, it has to be ours. And here's the thing about being a pastor. You're trained to give people the benefit of the doubt, to believe in redemption, to offer grace, to forgive 70 times 7, to model Jesus. So I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that fellowship was just fellowship, that the shirt was just a shirt, that the baby was mine. But then she said it, the words that would echo through everything that came after. Daniel, isn't forgiveness what you preach? If you've ever found something that changed everything, one object that unraveled your whole world, just type "found it" in the comments. You're not alone in that moment. I didn't answer her. I went upstairs to my office and closed the door. I needed to think. I needed to pray. I needed to call someone who wouldn't just tell me what I wanted to hear. I called my mother. Ruth Whitmore is 66 years old, widow, former missionary, spent 40 years in Guatemala building schools and confronting dictators and calling bullshit when she saw it. She cuts through lies like a machete through jungle vines. Danny, she said when she picked up. She's the only person who still calls me Danny. It's late. What's wrong? I told her everything. The pregnancy, the timeline, the shirt, Rebecca's tears and promises and weaponized scripture. There was a long silence on the other end. Danny, she said finally, I've been a missionary for 40 years. I know what spiritual manipulation looks like. She's going to use your own sermons against you, and she's going to use Hannah. Mom, I can't just assume. You opened your study Bible and looked at your own notes. What did they say? I glanced at the book on my desk, still open to the affair-proof marriage section. I'd written in the margin, Truth before comfort, Matthew 7. They said, oh, truth before comfort. Then live it, Ruth said. Your congregation watched you preach about covenant this morning. 85,000 people have watched your marriage videos. You know what they didn't watch? You being naive. Find out the truth, Danny, not for your reputation, for your daughter, for yourself, for that baby, whoever the father is. What if I'm wrong? What if I destroy our marriage over paranoia? And what if you're right? What if you raise another man's child for 18 years while everyone who went to that retreat knows the truth? After we hung up, I sat in my office for an hour. Just sat there. My study Bible in front of me, the tungsten ring on my finger, spinning around and around. Truth before comfort. That's what I'd written. That's what I'd preached. The question was, could I live it? The next morning, Monday, I had a meeting with my staff. Standard weekly planning. Jenny Park was there. She wouldn't look at me. After the meeting, she lingered. "Pastor Daniel," she said, "about my text." "Tell me," I said. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to photos, found one, held it out to me. It was from the retreat, nighttime, campfire. The orange glow lit up faces in the background. In the foreground, Rebecca and Caleb. Her head on his shoulder, his hand on her belly, both of them smiling at each other like they were the only two people on earth. The timestamp in the corner, April 17th, 11:47 p.m. "We were all uncomfortable," Jenny said quietly. "The whole staff, we talked about it. We didn't know if we should tell you. They were always together, at meals, during worship, late at night by the fire. We wanted to believe it was innocent. Fellowship, like she kept saying. But Daniel..." Her voice trailed off. She didn't need to finish. His hand was on her belly. April 17th. If she was 8 weeks pregnant now, mid-June, then she conceived right around April 10th to 15th, right during the retreat. And everyone saw them. Everyone knew, except me. I looked at Jenny, professional, careful, compassionate Jenny Park, 33 years old, master's degree in theology, gifted worship leader. Her eyes were wet. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I should have told you right away. I was scared. I thought maybe we were wrong. Maybe we were reading into things. But then yesterday you announced the pregnancy and..." "Thank you," I said. My voice sounded far away, like someone else was talking. "Thank you for telling me." She left. I sat alone in my office, staring at that photo on my phone. I'd asked her to text it to me. Evidence. That's what my lawyer brain called it. I'd been a pastor for so long, I'd forgotten I had a lawyer brain, but it was waking up now. His hand on her belly, her head on his shoulder. 11:47 at night by a campfire in the mountains while I was in Atlanta teaching other pastors about covenant faithfulness. I looked at my study Bible again, opened it to Song of Solomon. Sometimes Rebecca left little notes there. Love notes from years ago, pressed between the pages like dried flowers. I found one, but it wasn't from years ago. The ink was fresh, purple, her favorite color, her precise, elegant handwriting. No date, but the ink hadn't faded yet. "Caleb understands passion. You understand duty." That's all it said, tucked between verses about desire and romance and two lovers finding each other in a garden. She'd put it right there, in the book I preached from, the book I carried every Sunday, and she knew I'd find it eventually. Maybe she wanted me to. I sat there in my office, the one I decorated with theological books and family photos and evidence of my successful ministry, and I realized something. I'd spent 20 years teaching people how to affair-proof their marriages. I just forgot to protect my own. Rebecca didn't waste time. By Tuesday morning, she'd scheduled an emergency counseling session with Dr. Andrew Blackwood, Christian counselor, denominational credentials, the kind of therapist who quotes scripture more than psychology textbooks. She wanted me there. To work on our marriage, she said, to heal together. We sat in his office, leather chairs, cross on the wall, shelves full of books about redemption and grace and second chances. Rebecca brought her prayer journal, cream linen cover, purple ribbon bookmark. I could smell her vanilla perfume embedded in the pages before she even opened it. Dr. Blackwood folded his hands. Mid-50s, graying at the temples, the kind of calm that comes from never having been truly tested. "Rebecca has shared some of what happened at the retreat," he said, an emotional connection that crossed boundaries. "She's deeply repentant. Daniel, how are you processing this?" I looked at my wife. She had the journal open on her lap. I could see her handwriting, precise and elegant as always. She'd marked certain pages with sticky notes, curated, prepared. "I'm processing," I said, "that the timeline doesn't work, that she's 8 weeks pregnant, conceived during a retreat where she spent every night with another man, that our entire staff witnessed it." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. She turned to Dr. Blackwood. "You see? He won't even consider forgiveness. He won't give me grace. Daniel, Dr. Blackwood said gently, Rebecca acknowledges she made mistakes. She's here, willing to do the work. Isn't that what matters? Isn't grace what you preach? There it was again. My own doctrine, my own sermons, weaponized against me. Rebecca slid the journal across to Dr. Blackwood. I want you to see my heart. Read what I've been praying. Read how broken I am. He read aloud. April 20th. Lord, forgive me for my emotional weakness. Help Daniel forgive me. Make our family whole. April 25th. I'm so broken, Lord. I need your grace. Help me be the wife Daniel needs. He looked up at me. Daniel, this is genuine repentance. But I was looking at the journal, at the sticky notes marking specific pages, at the pages she'd dog-eared for him to read, at the ones she'd conveniently skipped. Can I see that? I asked. She hesitated just for a second, then handed it over. I flipped past the marked pages, found entries from earlier, March, February, January. Her handwriting didn't shake on these pages. No tear stains, just clear, precise thoughts. January 15th. Caleb understands things Daniel never will. When I talk to Caleb, I feel alive, seen, desired. March the 3rd. Tonight after band practice, Caleb and I stayed late, talked for 3 hours. Daniel texted asking when I'd be home. I lied, told him we had worship planning. We did, but not the kind I can tell him about. April 5th. Next week is the retreat. Caleb and I will finally have time away from everything, away from Daniel's watchful eyes. I know this is wrong, but I've never felt this alive. Maybe God sent Caleb to rescue me from this life. I looked up. Dr. Blackwood was watching me. Rebecca had gone very pale. You showed him the apology pages, I said quietly. You didn't show him the planning pages. She reached for the journal. Daniel, you wrote maybe God sent Caleb to rescue me from this life. That's not repentance, Rebecca. That's justification. Dr. Blackwood cleared his throat. Perhaps we should take a moment to... She's 8 weeks pregnant, I said. Conceived during that retreat. She's been planning this for months. And she's using my own teachings about grace to trap me into raising another man's child. Rebecca stood up. You're being cruel. Legalistic. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Dr. Blackwood. He cares more about being right than about our family. Our family? Something in my voice made them both go quiet. You've been having an affair for 6 months. You came back from that mountain pregnant. And now you're quoting my sermons about forgiveness like there's some kind of get out of consequences card. She grabbed the journal, held it to her chest like a shield. I made a mistake, Daniel. One mistake. Are you really going to destroy our family over this? Destroy the church? Hannah's faith? Everything we've built? One mistake, I repeated. January, February, March, April. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern. Dr. Blackwood held up his hands. Let's all take a breath. Daniel, I understand you're hurt, but Rebecca is here. She's willing to work on the marriage. That has to count for something. It didn't count for anything, but I couldn't say that. Not yet, because I was a pastor, and pastors don't give up on marriages. Pastors fight for redemption. Pastors model grace, even when grace is just enabling sin under a prettier name. I left the session early, told them I needed air, drove to Charleston Harbor Marina. I didn't plan to go there. My car just went there. Muscle memory from a decade ago when I used to fish with my dad before he got sick. Before everything got complicated, Caleb Hayes worked there now. Yacht broker. Charming, financially unstable, the kind of guy who always had a story and never had savings. I found him in the marina office. He was wearing a navy polo. When he turned around, I saw the collar, stretched out like he'd pulled it over his head too many times, like the retreat t-shirt in Rebecca's car. He saw me and went white. Pastor Daniel, outside, I said, now. We walked out to the parking lot. Yacht club members were having lunch at the restaurant across the way. I could see them through the windows, wine glasses and laughter and boats bobbing in the marina. Witnesses. Good. That meant I'd control myself. You resigned, I said. Caleb had emailed the church board Sunday night, effective immediately. Burnout, his letter said. Didn't mention Rebecca. I had to, he said. I can't keep working there, not after you got my wife pregnant. He flinched. It's not that simple. Then make it simple. He looked around, checking for witnesses of his own, the coward's instinct. Rebecca pursued me. After my divorce, I was vulnerable. She was there. She listened. She understood. She made me feel... I don't care how she made you feel. You're 35 years old, Caleb. You knew she was married. You knew I was your pastor. You knew this was wrong. Yes. His voice cracked. Yes, I knew. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to get this far. How far did it get? He wouldn't look at me. We talked. A lot. Late nights, texts, calls. It was emotional at first. Just emotional. But then the retreat where you got her pregnant. I don't know if the baby is mine. I stepped closer. The tungsten ring on my finger felt heavy. I could feel my pulse in my throat. You don't know, or you don't want to know? Rebecca told me... He stopped, looked at me. Something shifted in his eyes, fear mixed with spite. Rebecca told me you two hadn't been intimate in over a year. She said you were too busy saving everyone else to notice her drowning. The parking lot tilted, just for a second, not physically, but everything felt off-center. She said what? She said you were impotent, depressed, that your marriage was dead, that she needed... He caught himself, backed up. Look, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have believed her. I shouldn't have... Get out, I said. What? Get out of South Carolina. Transfer. Move. I don't care. But if I see you again, if you come near my wife again, if you ever speak to my daughter... I didn't finish the threat. Couldn't. Because I'm a pastor. Pastors don't threaten people. Pastors forgive. Pastors model Jesus. But right then, I wanted to drag Caleb Hayes into the marina and hold his head underwater until he understood what drowning actually felt like. He got in his car. I stood there and watched him drive away, and I hated myself for letting him. By Wednesday, the elder board had officially opened an investigation. Church bylaws required it. Once allegations of pastoral misconduct surface, even misconduct by a pastor's wife, the board has to investigate. 12 elders, formal process, everything documented. Elder Marcus Wright called me into his office. 62 years old, retired seminary professor, the man who'd mentored me through my ordination. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 3 days. Daniel, he said, sit down. I sat. His office smelled like old books and coffee. Familiar, safe, everything I'd built my ministry around. The board is reviewing everything, he said. Rebecca's claims, Caleb's resignation, witness testimony from the retreat. We're trying to be fair, but he stopped, slid a paper across his desk. But we found something. It was a printer log from the church office computer system, dates, times, usernames, files printed, May 22nd, 10:47 p.m., user Caleb Hayes, desktop, file ultrasound, 10 weeks.jpg, printer, main office HP. I stared at the paper. Rebecca told me she printed this at home, May 23rd, that morning. She lied. Marcus's hands were shaking. Daniel, she printed this from Caleb's computer at night before she showed it to you. They both knew whose baby it was, and they planned this together. The room got smaller, or maybe I got smaller. It's hard to tell when your entire understanding of reality shrinks down to a single line of text in a computer log. There's more, Marcus said. He pulled out something else, a black leather binder, 3-ring, professional, the kind we used for worship planning. Jenny found this in Caleb's office after he left. She thought it was just set lists and chord charts, but he opened it. Plastic sheet protectors crinkled. Inside, worship schedules, song lists, ministry plans, and folded paper. Lots of folded paper. I pulled one out, unfolded it. Rebecca's handwriting. Caleb, last night was everything. You make me feel things Daniel never could. When can we meet again? Another note. Can't wait for tonight. Daniel has board meeting until 10. My place? Another. You're the only one who truly sees me. Another. After worship practice, let's stay late again. No one asks questions if we say it's ministry planning. 15 notes total. Marcus had dated them based on context clues. November 14th, December 3rd, January 9th, February 14th, Valentine's Day, March 5th, March 19th, April 2nd, all the way through May. 6 months, not a moment of weakness, not emotional boundaries that blurred. 6 months of calculated, planned, documented betrayal. I looked up at Marcus. What was I preaching in January? He knew. He'd been there every week. The Affair-Proof Marriage, 6-week series. 6 weeks, I repeated. I taught 85,000 people online how to protect their marriages. And she was having an affair the entire time. Marcus reached across the desk, gripped my shoulder. Daniel, I'm so sorry. Does the board believe her? That this was just emotional? That the baby might be mine? No, he said quietly. The evidence is overwhelming. Computer logs, love notes spanning 6 months, witness testimony from a dozen retreat attendees, security footage. Security footage? He looked uncomfortable. The building manager upgraded our security cameras in March. Part of the safety initiative. They're on 24/7 now, motion activated. The parking lot, the sanctuary, He stopped. Daniel, you should go home. I'll compile the report. The board will review everything. We'll handle this properly. But I couldn't leave. Not yet. Show me, I said. Daniel, show me the security footage, Marcus. He didn't want to. I could see it in his eyes. But I was still his pastor. Still had some authority left. So he pulled up his computer, accessed the security system, scrolled through files. There are 6 separate occasions, he said. Late nights, early mornings, your car gone, you were traveling, her car shows up, his car shows up, they stay for hours. He clicked on a file. March 17th, 1:23 a.m. The timestamp glowed green in the corner. The sanctuary, dark. Night vision gives everything that eerie green tint. Empty pews stretching back like ribs in a skeleton. And at the front, at the altar, 2 figures, kneeling, hands clasped together, heads bowed, praying. For about 30 seconds they prayed. I could see their mouths moving. Rebecca and Caleb at the altar where I baptize believers, where I serve communion, where I preach covenant faithfulness. Then they stopped praying, and they kissed. Long, passionate, his hands in her hair, her hands on his shoulders, right there, at the altar, in God's house, while I was in Atlanta preaching at a missions conference about faithful ministry. Marcus closed the video. There are 5 more. I'm not showing you the rest. You don't need to see. They used the church, I said. My voice sounded hollow. They didn't just have an affair. They brought it into the sanctuary. They defiled. I couldn't finish. I stood up too fast. The chair tipped backward, crashed. I need to tell Hannah, I said, before Rebecca does, before she twists this into something I can spin. Daniel, wait! But I was already gone. I found Hannah at home, 17, beautiful, idealistic. My daughter. She was in the living room, doing homework. When she saw my face, she knew. Kids always know when their world is about to end. Dad, what's wrong? I sat down across from her, tried to figure out how to shatter your daughter's understanding of her mother without destroying her faith in everything. Hannah, I need to tell you something about Mom. Is she okay? Is the baby... The baby isn't mine. Silence. Complete silence. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen, cars passing outside, the blood in my ears. What? Her voice was small, young. She sounded 12 again. Your mother had an affair with Caleb, our worship pastor, for 6 months. The baby is his. No. She stood up, backed away. No, that's not, Mom wouldn't. I have evidence, Hannah. Love notes, computer logs, security footage, witness testimony. It's not a misunderstanding. It's not. Stop it. She was crying now, angry tears. You're lying. You're making this up because you're angry she made a mistake. Hannah. Mom told me. She told me yesterday. She said you were being cruel about a little mistake. She said you were choosing your pride over our family, that you were supposed to model grace like Jesus, but instead you're being judgmental and mean. So Rebecca had gotten to her first. Of course she had. Hannah, what your mother did wasn't a little mistake. She planned this for months. She brought Caleb into our church, into our home, into... You're supposed to forgive, Hannah shouted. Isn't that what you teach? Forgive 70 times 7? Turn the other cheek? You're a pastor, Dad. You're supposed to show grace. Every sermon I'd ever preached, every lesson I'd taught, every scripture I'd quoted, all of it weaponized, turned against me by the people I'd taught. Hannah, I said quietly, grace without truth isn't grace. It's just enabling sin under a prettier name. I love your mother, but I won't lie for her. And I won't raise another man's child and pretend, then you're a hypocrite. She grabbed her phone, started texting someone, Tyler probably, her boyfriend. Mom was right. You care more about being right than about keeping our family together. Hannah, if you can't forgive her, she said, voice breaking, then how can I trust anything you taught me? How can I believe any of it was real? She walked out, just left, grabbed her keys, got in her car, drove away. I called after her, tried to follow, but she was already gone. My daughter, the one person I thought I'd never lose. If you were Daniel, would you keep pushing for the truth, even if it destroys your ministry type truth? Or accept her story and try to save what you've built type peace? What would you do? I see people in the comments already. Both answers are defensible. Both come with a cost. Let me show you what I chose. I chose truth, because that's what my study Bible told me. Truth before comfort. Matthew 7. Remove the log from your own eye first, even if it meant losing everything. That night, alone in my house, Rebecca had moved to her mother's, Hannah to my mother's. I got a call from Marcus Wright. Daniel, he said, you need to come to the church. Now, I have something you need to see, and I don't want to show it to you over the phone. What is it? Just come, please. I drove to Riverside Community Church. The building was dark except for Marcus's office. He was waiting for me with the building manager, a quiet man named Tom, who'd worked maintenance for 15 years. Tom, I said, what's going on? Tom couldn't look at me. Pastor Daniel, I'm so sorry. When I upgraded the security system, I didn't realize. Marcus pulled up his computer again. We were doing a comprehensive review, checking all the footage, looking for evidence to document the timeline, and we found... He stopped, looked at me. Daniel, there are 6 separate occasions where Rebecca and Caleb were here late at night or early in the morning. 6 times your car was gone, you were traveling, and they used the church building. The parking lot cameras caught them arriving together, leaving together. Timestamps prove they were here for hours. You showed me the altar footage, I said. That was one night, March 17th. But there's more. November 8th, December 12th, January 14th, February 9th, March 17th, April 21st. 6 documented occasions over 5 months. Tom spoke up. I checked the building every morning. Sometimes I'd find things out of place, lights left on, doors unlocked that should have been locked. I thought I was being forgetful, but now... Marcus clicked through footage. Each timestamp told the same story. Rebecca's white Lexus, Caleb's gray Honda, both pulling into the parking lot after midnight or before dawn, both leaving hours later. They didn't just meet here, Marcus said. They used this place, God's house, while you were out preaching, while the congregation trusted them, while he stopped the video, looked at me. Daniel, this is beyond an affair. This is desecration. They brought sin into the sanctuary repeatedly, knowingly, while you were serving the very people who pay your salary and trust your leadership. I sat down, or maybe fell. It's hard to tell the difference when your legs give out. The board meets tomorrow, Marcus said. Full report, all evidence, printer logs, love notes, security footage, witness testimony, denominational bylaws require us to present findings and recommend action. What action? I asked. For Rebecca, removal from all ministry positions. For Caleb, credentials revoked by denomination pending restoration process. For you? He paused. That depends on what you do next. What I do next? Do you file for divorce? Do you claim the child isn't yours? Do you expose this publicly? Do you protect the church's reputation? Daniel, we're talking about 2,800 members, 15,000 online followers, a viral sermon series about marriage. If this gets out, when? I said. When this gets out. He nodded slowly. When this gets out, what do you want the story to be? That you stood for truth, or that you covered it up? I looked at my study Bible still in my hands, still worn and annotated and filled with 12 years of teaching I thought I understood. I thought about Hannah, about Rebecca, about Caleb, about the congregation, about the thousands of people who'd watched my videos and trusted my teaching. I thought about the tungsten ring on my finger, covenant keeper. I'd kept my covenant, she hadn't, and I couldn't wear a symbol of something that was broken, not anymore. Hannah didn't speak to me for 3 days. She stayed at Ruth's house, sent one-word text responses. Fine. Whatever. No. But on Thursday afternoon, Ruth called. Danny, you need to come over, now. Hannah found something. When I got there, Hannah was sitting at Ruth's kitchen table. Tyler Chen was next to her, holding her hand. 17 years old, pastor's kid from a sister church, steady in the way only PKs can be. They've seen too much to be shocked by anything. On the table, the black worship binder, the one with the 15 love notes. Grandma Ruth gave me access to the evidence, Hannah said. Her voice was flat, empty. She said I deserved to know the truth. All of it. Not Mom's version, not your version, the actual evidence. I sat down across from them. Ruth was making tea in the background. Chamomile. For Hannah this time. I read the notes, Hannah said, all of them, with dates. Tyler helped me organize them chronologically. Tyler had a notebook, his handwriting neat and small. November 14th, December 3rd, January 9th, a timeline of betrayal. I checked your preaching calendar, Hannah continued. November 14th. You were in Charlotte for a conference. December 3rd. You were in Virginia teaching that marriage seminar. January 9th. Her voice cracked. January 9th was a Wednesday night. I remember. You had elder board meeting until 10. I was at youth group. Mom said she was doing ministry planning at the church. Hannah, she wasn't planning ministry. Hannah pushed one of the notes across the table, unfolded it so I could read Rebecca's handwriting. Tonight was perfect. Daniel won't be home until midnight. We have hours. Tyler squeezed Hannah's hand. She took a shaky breath and kept going. I went through all of them, cross-referenced with family calendars, church schedules, everything. Do you know what I found? I shook my head. She planned it, every single time. She knew when you'd be gone. She knew when I'd be at youth group or friends' houses. She scheduled her affair around our family calendar like it was a business meeting. Hannah pulled out another note. Her hands were shaking now. This one, she said, this one is dated August 30th. August 30th. I knew that date. Your birthday. My 16th birthday party. She unfolded it, read aloud, voice breaking. Can't wait to celebrate with you after H's party. Daniel suspects nothing. Meet me at 11. Tyler put his arm around her shoulders. She was crying now. I remember that night, Dad. I remember everything. I had 20 friends over. Mom made my favorite cake. You gave that speech about how proud you were of me. We took family photos. Everyone said we were the perfect family. And at 10:30, Mom said she had a migraine, said she needed to lie down. She went upstairs. I checked on her at 11. She wasn't there. Hannah, she was meeting him. She used my birthday party, my 16th birthday. She left in the middle of my party to go sleep with your worship pastor. Ruth set tea in front of Hannah, didn't say anything, just stood there with her hand on Hannah's shoulder. I believed her, Hannah said, when she said you were being cruel, when she said it was just a mistake, when she said you were choosing pride over family. I believed her, Dad. I thought you were the problem. You didn't know. I should have known. She slammed her hand on the table. The tea jumped. You're my father. I've known you my whole life. And I believed her over you because she knows how to say the right things, how to cry at the right moments, how to make everyone feel sorry for her. Tyler spoke for the first time. Mr. Whitmore, Hannah wanted me here because... He looked at Hannah. She nodded. Because she needs to tell you something, and she needs a witness. Hannah wiped her eyes, straightened up, looked at me directly for the first time in days. I'm testifying at the elder board meeting, she said. I'm 17, almost 18, old enough to give testimony. Elder Wright said if I want to speak, they'll listen, and I want to speak. Hannah, you don't have to. Yes, I do, because Mom called me last night. She said if this goes public, it'll ruin my college applications, my mission trip, my reputation. She said I need to support her story. Tell the board it was just emotional, nothing physical, that you're overreacting. What did you say? I hung up on her. Fresh tears. She's my mom, Dad. I love her, but she used me. She weaponized me. She made me into a tool to hurt you, and I'm done. Ruth set tea in front of me now, sat down at the table. The board meets Sunday night after evening service. They'll present findings and vote on actions. Daniel, they're recommending you take a restoration leave, 6 months minimum. For what? I didn't do anything wrong. Denominational bylaws, Ruth said. Any pastor involved in a moral failure case, even as the wronged party, takes a restoration sabbatical. It's protocol. Protects everyone, gives you time to heal, process, get counseling. The church will keep paying your salary. They'll bring in an interim pastor. So I'm being punished for her affair. No, Hannah said. You're being given permission to fall apart. You've been holding the church together, the family together, everyone together. For how long, Dad? Months while she was doing this? 6 months, at least. Probably longer. The board also wants you to address the congregation, Ruth said. Before the vote, Sunday morning, tell them the truth, your version, because Rebecca is already working on her version. What's her version? That you're having a mental breakdown, that you're obsessed with persecution fantasies, that she made one emotional mistake and you've blown it up into something it's not, that she's the victim of your cruelty. I looked at Hannah. If I tell the truth publicly, then tell it, she said. I'll be in the front row with Grandma Ruth and Tyler, and we'll stand with you. Sunday morning came fast, too fast. I barely slept. Spent Friday and Saturday in prayer, in my study Bible, trying to figure out how to tell 2,800 people that their pastor's marriage was built on lies. I thought about not going, thought about just resigning quietly, letting Rebecca have her version, protecting Hannah from the scandal. But then I remembered what I'd written in the margin of my Bible all those years ago, truth before comfort. I walked into the sanctuary at 10:55 a.m. Rebecca wasn't there. She'd stopped coming to church after moving to her mother's, but the rest of the congregation was. 2,800 faces, plus 15,000 online, all of them expecting their normal Sunday morning worship, announcements, offering, sermon about faith or hope or love. I had no sermon prepared. Elder Wright introduced me. This morning, Pastor Daniel has asked for time to address the congregation on a personal matter. Please give him your full attention. I walked to the pulpit, set my study Bible down, Same brown leather, same crack in the spine, same 3 colors of ink in the margins. 12 years of wisdom I thought I had. The sanctuary was completely silent. I looked at my hands, at the tungsten ring on my left finger, dark gray, matte, inscribed with words no one could see unless I took it off. And I took it off, slowly, deliberately. The ring came off with a little resistance. 17 years will do that. I set it on the pulpit. The microphone picked up the sound. Tungsten on wood. Click. 2,800 people watching, 15,000 online. Complete silence. This ring, I said, my voice echoing in the sanctuary, says Covenant Keeper inside. It's from Malachi 2:16, the verse where God says he hates divorce. I picked that verse, I engraved it, I wore it for 17 years. I looked up. Front row. Hannah, Ruth, Tyler. They nodded. I kept my covenant, I said, but my wife didn't. You could hear people shifting in their seats, confused murmurs, someone's phone buzzing. 6 months ago, my wife Rebecca began an affair with our former worship pastor, Caleb Hayes. It started as emotional infidelity. Late night conversations, texts, calls. By January, it was physical. For 6 months, while I traveled preaching about faithful marriage, while I taught you about covenant keeping, she was breaking ours. The murmurs got louder. Someone gasped. I saw Jenny Park in the sound booth, tears streaming down her face. In April, she attended the Mountain High Worship Retreat. So did Caleb. I was in Atlanta teaching other pastors about integrity in ministry. During that retreat, she conceived a child. She came home and told me it was mine. It's not. Elder Wright was in the second row. He had his head bowed. Praying, probably. For the last 3 weeks, I've been investigating, gathering evidence, hoping I was wrong, praying for some alternative explanation. But the evidence is overwhelming. Computer logs showing they planned together. Love notes spanning 6 months. Security footage showing them using this church building, this sanctuary, for their affair. Witness testimony from a dozen staff members who saw them together at the retreat. I picked up my wedding ring, held it up so everyone could see. I can't wear this anymore, I said, not because I want to take it off, but because I can't wear a symbol of something that's broken. My wife betrayed me, betrayed our daughter, betrayed this church, and betrayed the gospel we claim to preach. The live stream chat was exploding. I could see it on the screen behind me. Hundreds of comments per second. Shock, support, disbelief, anger. I'm telling you this, I continued, because Rebecca has been telling people I'm having a mental breakdown, that I'm being cruel and unforgiving, that I'm choosing my pride over our family, and I want you to know the truth before you hear her version. I looked at Hannah. She was crying, but she was sitting up straight, shoulders back, chin up. I've preached to you about forgiveness, grace, second chances, covenant faithfulness, and I believe all of it, every word. But grace without truth is not grace. It's just enabling sin under a prettier name. I can forgive Rebecca. I will forgive Rebecca. But I will not lie for her. I will not pretend this baby is mine. I will not allow our marriage to be held up as a model when it's built on betrayal. I set the ring back on the pulpit. Denominational bylaws require me to take a restoration sabbatical, 6 months minimum. Elder Board will vote tonight on the details. I'm not resigning. I'm not running away. But I am being honest. With you, with my daughter, with myself. And if that honesty costs me this pulpit, then so be it. Because I'd rather lose my ministry than lose my integrity. The sanctuary was so quiet I could hear the HVSC system humming. I taught 85,000 people how to affair-proof their marriages. I said, I just forgot to protect my own. And now I'm teaching you something harder. I'm teaching you how to truth tell when it destroys everything. How to stand for what's right even when it costs everything you've built. How to remove the log from your own eye, even when that log is naivety, blindness, misplaced trust. I closed my study Bible. The leather whispered against the wood. I don't know what happens next, I said. I don't know if you'll want me back after 6 months. I don't know if this church will survive the scandal, but I know this. I told you the truth. And whatever happens because of that truth is better than any lie I could have maintained. I stepped back from the pulpit, and 2,800 people stood up. All of them, every single person in the sanctuary, standing ovation, applauding, crying. Jenny Park was sobbing in the sound booth. Elder Wright had his hands raised in prayer. Hannah was on her feet, clapping hard enough to hurt. They stood for 5 minutes. I just stood there at the pulpit, watching my congregation choose truth over comfort, watching them refuse to let me go quietly. Finally, Elder Wright came to the microphone. "The board meets tonight," he said, "but I think I speak for everyone here when I say, Pastor Daniel, you're not going anywhere. Take your sabbatical, heal. But this is your church. You fought for truth. We're fighting for you." The applause started again. Later that night, the elder board voted 12-0. Full support, 6-month paid sabbatical, interim pastor from a sister church, keep my title, my office, my salary, return in January. Rebecca filed for divorce 3 days later. Through her lawyer, claimed irreconcilable differences, asked for alimony, child support, half the house. My lawyer, James Wellington, college friend, sharp as a knife, filed a counterclaim, adultery, contested paternity, no alimony due to infidelity clause in our prenup, full custody of Hannah based on Rebecca's documented deception. "She'll fight the paternity claim," James said. "She has to. If she admits the baby isn't yours, she loses all leverage." "Then we'll test at birth." "That's November, 5 months away. Daniel, are you prepared for 5 months of legal warfare?" I looked at my left hand. No ring, just a tan line where the tungsten used to be. "I'm prepared," I said. In July, something unexpected happened. Caleb's older brother reached out through James, Michael Hayes. 40 years old, owns a small hotel chain, married 15 years. His wife Sarah had been trying to get pregnant for 8 years. Multiple rounds of IVF. Nothing worked. They wanted to adopt the baby. Caleb told them everything, James explained. Paternity test confirms he's the father. 99.8% certainty. Rebecca agreed to the test as part of the custody negotiation. Michael and Sarah are offering a private adoption. Full parental rights. Rebecca would give up all custody. You'd be completely free. "What about Hannah?" I asked. "She's been processing all of this. The baby is technically her half-sibling." "That's why Michael wants to meet. He wants Hannah's blessing, wants her involved if she wants to be." We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. Michael looked like an older, steadier version of Caleb. Sarah was gentle, kind, the kind of woman who'd make a good mother. "We don't excuse what Caleb did," Michael said, "what he and Rebecca did. But this baby didn't choose its parents. This baby deserves a home. Love, stability, Sarah and I can provide that." Sarah reached across the table, took my hand. "Pastor Daniel, we've been praying for a child for 8 years. When Caleb told us about the baby, we saw it as an answer. Not the way we expected, but God's answers rarely are." Hannah spoke up. She'd asked to come. "Can I still see the baby? Make sure he's okay? I know it's weird, but..." "Hannah," Sarah said gently, "we'd be honored if you wanted to be involved. As an aunt figure, a mentor, whatever feels right. This baby will know his story when he's old enough to understand. We won't lie to him, but we'll also show him that God can redeem anything." Hannah looked at me. I nodded. "Okay," she said, "then I think you should adopt him." The adoption was finalized in October. Baby born November 8th, 7 pounds, 3 ounces, healthy, perfect. Michael and Sarah named him Samuel. Heard by God. Not Gabriel or Micah or Ezra. Not the manipulative mercy names Rebecca had highlighted in her baby book. Samuel. A name about being heard, not about forcing forgiveness. Hannah was there for the baby dedication at Michael and Sarah's church. Stood up as a sponsor aunt. Promised to pray for Samuel, to check in, to be available. I wasn't there. It wouldn't have been appropriate, but Hannah sent me photos. Sarah holding Samuel, Michael beaming, Hannah's hand on the baby's head, blessing him. Redemption doesn't always look like you expect. During my sabbatical, I did something I'd never done before. I recorded a sermon at home, not at the church, not in front of a congregation. Just me, my study Bible, Ruth operating a camera on her phone. I called it When the Teacher Fails. I didn't defend myself, didn't explain the affair in detail, didn't attack Rebecca. I just told the truth. I taught 85,000 people how to affair-proof their marriages. My viral sermon series promised that if you followed these steps, your marriage would be safe. But while I was teaching you, my own marriage was crumbling. Not because I didn't follow my own advice, but because marriage takes two people and I can't control what my wife chooses to do. I opened my study Bible, showed the camera the marginalia, 3 colors of ink, 12 years of annotations. I have a new note now, I said, Matthew 7:5. First, remove the plank from your own eye, then you'll see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. I wrote underneath it, learned this the hard way. DJW 2025. I looked directly at the camera, at Ruth behind it, at whoever would watch this later. I was blind, I said simply, not to her affair, I couldn't have known about that, but to my own pride, my own confidence, my own belief that I had marriage figured out because I could teach about it well. The teacher failed, not because my teaching was wrong, but because I thought teaching made me immune to failure. I closed the Bible. If you're watching this because your marriage fell apart, I want you to know it's not always your fault. Sometimes you do everything right, and it still breaks. Sometimes covenant takes 2 people, and one of them walks away. And that's not failure. That's just life in a broken world. Ruth posted it to the church YouTube channel on a Tuesday. By Friday, it had 200,000 views, twice as many as the original Affair Proof Your Marriage series. The comments were different this time. Not great teaching, Pastor, but thank you for being real. Not this saved my marriage, but this gave me permission to grieve mine. Someone wrote, your humility taught me more than your expertise ever could. Another, I needed to hear that it's okay to fail. That failure doesn't mean you're disqualified. Another, my husband cheated. I thought I did something wrong. This helped me see. Sometimes people just choose sin. It's not on you to fix what they broke. Daniel and Hannah redefined what family means. Not who you're bound to by law or blood, but who shows up in truth. If you've rebuilt your life after betrayal, if you found your people in unexpected places, tell me about it in the comments. I want to hear your story. And if this story moved you, subscribe. I tell stories about faith, failure, and what comes after. Real stories. Messy stories. Stories where people choose truth even when it costs everything. I'll see you in the next one. January came. 6 months since the Sunday I took off my ring. 6 months of therapy, prayer, silence, and slow reconstruction of everything I thought I knew about myself. Elder Wright called, "It's time, Daniel. We want you back." "Are you sure? The church has been through a lot. Maybe a fresh start with someone new." The church voted, unanimous. We want you back. Not the version of you who had it all figured out, the version who's learning along with us. I returned to Riverside Community Church on a Sunday morning in mid-January. The parking lot looked the same, the building looked the same, but when I walked into the sanctuary, it felt different, smaller, not physically. The pews were still there, the altar was still there, the cross on the wall, but the crowd was different. 1,800 people. Not 2,800, 1,000 people had left. Found other churches, couldn't handle the scandal, couldn't handle the truth, couldn't reconcile perfect pastor's marriage with his wife had an affair. And that was okay. The 1,800 who stayed, they listened differently. I walked to the pulpit, carrying my study Bible, same worn brown leather, same crack in the spine, same gold edges worn white. But when I opened it to Matthew 7:5, there was a new annotation. First, remove the log from your own eye. And underneath, in red ink, learn this the hard way. DJW 2025. Hannah was in the front row, Tyler next to her, holding her hand. She decided to defer her college applications by a year. Take a gap year, process everything, work part-time, volunteer, figure out who she was outside of perfect pastor's daughter. Ruth was in the third row. Proud grandmother, former missionary, the one who'd held us both together when everything fell apart. Elder Wright was in the second row. Same as always. Jenny Park was in the sound booth. She'd been promoted to worship director after Caleb left. Led the congregation through the scandal with grace and wisdom beyond her years. I looked at the study Bible, at the new annotation, at the people who'd stayed. "Good morning," I said. My voice echoed differently, humbler, quieter. "It's good to be home." They applauded, not the standing ovation from 6 months ago, just warm, sustained applause. "Welcome back. We missed you. We're glad you're here." "I've learned a lot in 6 months," I said, "about failure, about grace, about what it means to fall apart and let other people help you rebuild, about being honest even when honesty is ugly, about teaching from scars instead of from strength." I looked at Hannah. She was taking notes, pen moving across paper, actually listening, not performing, not pretending, just present. "I used to think my job was to have all the answers," I said, "to model perfect faith, perfect marriage, perfect ministry. But perfection is a lie. What you need isn't a perfect pastor. What you need is an honest one. Someone who'll tell you when he's struggling, when he doesn't have answers, when he's learning right alongside you." I touched the spot where my wedding ring used to be. The tan line was gone now, just skin, plain and bare and free. "I'm not wearing my ring anymore," I said, "not because I'm ashamed, but because my marriage ended. And pretending it didn't would be another lie. But I'm still here, still your pastor, still learning what covenant means, not just in marriage, but in community, in showing up, in telling the truth, in rebuilding when everything falls apart." Someone in the back said, "Amen." Quiet, genuine. "This is smaller than it used to be," I said, gesturing to the sanctuary. "We lost some people, and I don't blame them. Scandal is hard. Truth is harder. But the people who stayed, you're the ones who chose honesty over comfort, reality over image. And that's the church I want to lead. Not the big one, the real one." I preached for 30 minutes, nothing groundbreaking, just honest reflections on Psalm 51, David's prayer after his own massive failure. "Create in me a clean heart, O God, renew a right spirit within me." After the service, people lined up to talk to me, not to congratulate me on a great sermon, just to say, "Welcome back," and "We prayed for you," and "Thank you for not giving up." Hannah waited until everyone else was gone. Then she walked up to the pulpit, hugged me. "I'm proud of you, Dad," she said. "I'm proud of you too, baby girl." I talked to Sarah yesterday. Samuel is doing great, sleeping through the night, starting to smile. She sent me pictures. "How do you feel about that? About him?" She thought for a moment. "I feel like God redeemed something broken, made something good out of something terrible. Samuel didn't choose his parents, but he got parents who chose him. That's beautiful, even if it's complicated." Tyler came up, shook my hand. "Good sermon, Pastor Daniel. Really good." "Thanks, Tyler. Thank you for being there for Hannah, for our family." "That's what family does," he said simply. Hannah and Tyler left. Ruth gave me a hug. Elder Wright clapped my shoulder. Jenny turned off the sound system. The building emptied out slowly. I stood at the pulpit for a few minutes after everyone left. Just stood there, looking at the empty pews, the altar where Rebecca and Caleb had kissed, the cross on the wall, my study Bible open to Matthew 7. The sanctuary felt clean somehow, not because the sin had been erased, but because the truth had been told. The lies had been expelled. The pretense had been burned away. What was left was smaller, but it was real. I picked up my study Bible, closed it gently. The leather whispered one last time. I looked at the front row where Hannah had been sitting. Her notebook was still there. She'd forgotten it. I walked down and picked it up. On the open page, she'd written, "Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a right spirit within me." Psalm 51:10. Dad preached this today. 6 months ago, I would have thought we were the ones who already had clean hearts. Now I know we're all just people learning to be honest about the mess. That's the real miracle. I set the notebook back down carefully. She'd come back for it. Outside, the January sun was bright and cold. I stood in the parking lot, watching cars leave. 1,800 people going back to their lives. Smaller crowd, deeper roots. Ruth's words from 6 months ago echoed, "Truth before comfort." I'd chosen truth, and truth had cost me everything I thought I wanted. The perfect marriage, the perfect ministry, the perfect reputation, the viral success, the big crowds. But what I had now, my daughter looking at me with respect instead of hero worship, my integrity battered but intact, my congregation smaller but more authentic, my faith tested and somehow stronger, a lesson learned the hard way and shared honestly. That teaching doesn't make you immune to failure, but failing doesn't disqualify you from teaching, especially when you teach from the scars. I got in my car, drove home. The house was quieter now, just me, no Rebecca. Hannah at Ruth's most nights still, but the quiet felt different. Not empty, just spacious. Room to breathe, room to heal, room to become whoever I was supposed to be next. My phone buzzed. Text from Hannah. "Forgot my notebook. Can you bring it by Grandma's? Also, Tyler and I are making dinner. You should come. Nothing fancy, just family." I smiled. Just family. Not the family I'd planned. Not the family I'd performed for 2,800 people. Not the family in the curated photos and viral sermon illustrations. Just family. Real and messy and smaller and honest. I texted back, "I'll be there." And I was.